Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to reading Machiavelli's Discourse. And today we're still in Book 1, looking today at Chapter 12. The title of Chapter 12 is of the importance of, of how much importance is it to take account of religion, and how Italy, for lacking it by means of the Roman Church, has been ruined. Now, the previous chapter, he dealt with the question of the Roman religion, the pagan religion in that sense, the religion gave by Numa. And I think it may be the previous chapter in chapter 1. Today, he's now raising a question about how important it is to take account of religion. And then the snide little comment, he's like wonderful Machiavellian comment, how Italy, for lacking it, Rome had a religion, Italy lacks religion. And the reason why it lacks it, the title suggests, is it by means of the Roman Church has been ruined. By lacking it, it has been, for Italy, lacking it has been ruined. And the reason why it lacks it is because by the means of the Roman Church. So let's go through here. Those princes, or those republics, that wish to maintain themselves uncorrupt, have above everything else to maintain the ceremonies of their religion uncorrupt, maintain the ceremonies of their religion uncorrupt, and hold them always in veneration, semicolon. For one can have no greater indication of a ruin of a province than to see the divine cult disdained. So, in other words, princes republic wish to maintain uncorrupt. They should make sure their ceremonies of their religion, the ceremonies, are not corrupted, and that they're held to be in veneration, always held to be in veneration. Because once they go, that is a sign that what? That if the divine, in other words, it's the ruin of the province, then the scene its divine cult disdain. It is easy to understand once it is known what the religion where a man is born is founded on. For every religion has the foundation of its life in some principle order of its own. In other words, of life on some principle order of its own. So he's making a claim here that, in other words, understand that it's a religion of where a man is born, and that every religion has the foundation of its life, its existence, on a principle of its order, right? A principle order of its own. The life of the Gentile religion was founded on the response of the oracles and on the sects of the diviners and augurs. So therefore the Gentiles religion, the idea here is that the Gentiles, which he's referring to as the pagans, right? These are doing what? They are founded on the responses of oracles and the sects of diviners and augurs, those who interpret those oracles and those things. All the other ceremonies, sacrifices, and rites depend on them. So, in other words, this is the primary foundation, and all the other things arise from it. For they easily believe that the gods who could predict your future good or future ill for you, or future ill for you, could also grant it to you. So therefore, in other words, they argue that if they could predict your good or no, and there's oracles which tell you this could happen, or bad could happen, that therefore, if they could predict it, they could also deliver it for you, right? Grant it to you. From these arose the temples, from these the sacrifices, from these the supplications, and every other ceremony to venerate them. Through these the oracles of Delos, the temple of Juniper and Ammon, and the other celebrated oracles who filled the world with admiration and devotion. So, in other words, the oracles are the people who say, pronounce the word of God, and then from the oracles emerges what? All the ceremonies and the sacrifices and rites, right? And then he says that you can predict this, right? As these later began to speak in the mode of the powerful, and that And as that falsity was exposed among the people, men became incredulous and apt to disturb every good order. So in other words, what happened? Once these people, the people who are handling the sacrifices, the ceremonies, the sacrifice and rites, were speaking in a mode of the powerful, the rulers, those who were there. Those people who executed the oracles and did this, all of a sudden they were speaking falsely. They weren't saying what the oracle said, but they were often interpreting it in a way that favored the powerful, he's saying here. Then what happened? Men became incredulous, and they realized that they were falsifying what was said, falsely attributing what was said, and doing so because of for the sake of favoring influence with those of the powerful. They began to, what he says, incredulous and apt to disturb every order. Thus, princes of a republic or of a kingdom should maintain the foundations of religion they hold. And if this is done, it will be an easy thing for them to maintain that republic religious and, in consequence, good and united. In other words, if you have something in religion, you have to make sure that there's no corruption of the religion. Because if you have the people running the religion becomes corrupted, people lose faith. The people will lose faith, and they will bring. And what happens is that they will bring disorder on the other orders. In other words, again, he says it there. If the divine orders, the divine cult are disrespected, then the political cult will be disrespected. All things that arise in favor of religion, that religion, they should hold and magnify, even though they judge them false. And they should do it so much more as they are more prudent and more knowing of natural things. In other words, okay, what is he saying here? The religion does very good things. It maintains the order, and it maintains their ability to do things. Now, all things that favor the religion, they should favor and magnify. Why? Even if they themselves think they're false. Why? They do so in much as more prudent. In other words, they should do it so much the more as they are more prudent and more knowing of natural things. That means the more prudent you are, the more knowing of the things of nature, you should nevertheless honor and respect the religion, even if you and your reasoning says that this is not true, or they're false, right? The question is with a good effect, right? Because this mode has been observed by wise men. And let's go look at one. What is this? No, one. The opinion, and next is faith. This belief or this opinion. By wise men, the opinion or the belief has arisen in miracles, which are celebrated even in false religions. For the prudent enlarges upon them from whatever benefit they arise, and their authority gives him credit or faith, pietas, credit with anyone whatever, gives them faith, in other words, people hold faith to them. So therefore, this is interesting. In other words, the prudent man and the man knowing about natural things who sees that, well, this miracle is, but the people believe it's right. And the people's belief in that miracle produces good things. Okay? The prudent enlarges them whatever they arise. While, in other words, the belief or the opinion has arisen in miracles, right, which are celebrated even false religion. For prudent enlarges upon them from whatever beginning they arise, and their authority give them credit for them. Then there were very many of these miracles in Rome. Among them was that the Roman soldiers were sacking the city of the Venice, when some of them entered the temple of Juno, and drawing near her image, said to it, "Do you want to come to Rome?" Right? This is that famous line. This is quoted in Virgil 5, right? It appears to someone that he saw her nod, and to someone else that she said yes. For being men full of religion, which Titus Livy demonstrates, for in encircling the temple they entered without tumult, all devoted and full of reverence. It appeared to them they heard the response to their question that they perhaps presupposed. That opinion and credulity were altogether favored and magnified by Calamus and by the other princes of the city. If such religion had been maintained by the princes of the Roman Republic, as was ordered by its givers, the Christian states and republics would be more united and much happier than they are. In other words, they expect the religious, don't condemn the religion. They have piety, don't do it, just use it. That's right. If the Christian republic ordered by their givers, the Christian states republics would be more united and happier than they are. Nor can one make any better conjecture as to the decline than to see that those peoples who are closest to the Roman Church, the head of our religion, have less religion. In other words, you look at the popes. In other words, you see the popes, you see these people. In other words, you look at, nor can any better conjecture of this decline being to see the people who are closest to the Roman Church, the head, have less religion. Whoever might consider its foundations and see how much the present usage is different from them might judge, without doubt, that it is either that either it's ruined or its scourging is near. In other words, he says the popes and the cardinals are so corrupt, they clearly don't believe. And they have less. They are not really believers. They have less religion and less piety, less faithfulness, right? Whoever might consider its foundations, right, and how much the present usages differ from the foundations of the church, it might judge without a doubt that either its ruin, the church of ruin, or its scourging is near, right? Now, that was just the first paragraph, right? Second paragraph. Because many are of the opinion that well-being of cities of Italy arise from the Roman Church, I wish to discourse of those reasons that occur to me against it. Now he's going to say, many people argue that the cities of Italy are free because of the church. Okay, and he's going to argue, and therefore they benefit from the church. And he's going to argue against that, right? I will cite two very powerful reasons that, according to me, are incontrovertible. Okay, so therefore he's going to incontrovertible. There's two reasons that they're not. The first is that because of the wicked examples of that court, this province has lost all devotion and all religion, which brings with it infinite inconveniences and infinite disorders. For as where there is religion, one supposes every good, and where it is missing, one proposes as contrary. So in other words, he makes a very shocking claim. He says that the wickedness of the impiety and the lack of religion of the church leaders, the bishops and the pope, they're wicked because of their wickedness, right? That the province has lost devotion and all religion. So the people look at them, look at this, and they, no, there's no belief in it. They're cynical, right? They come to no, they lose faith. Because the leaders, the people who are the principal agents of religion, clearly aren't religious and clearly don't believe, have no faith. Why should we have faith? This is monkey see, monkey do, right? This is the problem. And because of that, which bring it with infinite inconvenience and infinite disorder. In other words, once they lose faith, once the people lose belief, and belief is also faith, then infinite inconveniences and infinite disorders. Because he says, where there is religion, one presupposes every good, and where it's missing, one proposes everything bad happening. Right. So let's look at the next continuation of paragraph 2. Thus, we Italians have the first obligation to the church and to its priests, that we have become without religion and wicked. But we have yet a greater one to them, that the second one caused another way. The second is sorry. So therefore, the first thing is right. We have this first obligation to the church and to the priests, that we have become without religion and wicked. But we have yet a greater one, the second one, right? To them. That is the second cause of our ruin. So the second cause. This is that the church has kept and keeps this province divided. Right? It says the church keeps the provinces divided. And truly, no prince who has ever been united or happy, unless it has all come under obedience to one republic or to one prince, has happened to France and Spain. In other words, France and Spain, they unification. In other words, Italy is not unified. There's no unification. They're divided. And being divided, whereas in Spain and in France, there's been unification. Now, Machiavelli is silent about England, which is interesting. Well, when he's writing, England is no longer the great power it used to be. So England is on decline. The Plantagenets are in decline, are dead. This is the beginning of the Tudors, right? The beginning of the Tudors, who are recovering from the collapse of the Plantagenet, loss of the 100-Year War. Loss of France, and rise of France. That France's rise and centralization comes at the expense of England, right? And Spain unifies Spain, and Spain is much more advanced in that sense, unification than France. Okay, so let's continue. The cause that Italy is not in the same condition, and does not have one republic or one prince to govern it. Is solely the church. Okay, the church has prevented the unification. For though it has inhabited and held a temporal empire there, it had not been so powerful, nor of such virtue, as to be able to seize the tyranny over Italy, and make itself prince of it. In other words, this is the alternative reading set by the rest of it, right? This is the tyranny of Italy, or seize the rest of Italy. I think the tyranny of Italy, in other words, dominion, seek control of it, the rest of Italy. In other words, the church is not strong enough. The church was never, in their temporal power, never strong enough to unify the whole. And because it could not control it, it wanted to prevent others from controlling it. That's the. On the other hand, it has been not so weak that it has been unable to call in a power to defend it against one that had become too powerful in Italy. For fear of losing dominion over temporal things. In other words, it didn't, it was being able to, a powerful, if it was weak, because it was not strong, if someone became powerful, and they feared that the other person would take control and strip of its temporal power over what it had, it could call in powerful other people to help. This had been seen formerly in very many experiences, when by means of Charlemagne it expelled the Lombards, who were then almost king of all Italy. And when in our times it took away power from the Venetians with the aid of France, then expelled the French with the aids of the Swiss, right? Okay, let's go. This is, again, this is Florentine Histories, book one, book 1, 9th, there was a reference to the League of Cambria and the defeat of Venice at Alganeto in 1509, and in note 7 in 1512, the defeat of the Holy League in the Battle of Ravenna, which was fought without the Swiss. In other words, the irony is that the Swiss wins because they defeat the Spanish. In other words, they knock out the French with the Spanish, but because the Swiss defeat, in other words, the Spanish can't control, right? Without the Swiss did not help the French, so the Spanish won. They were able to defeat that in a sense. That's that famous battle, and this is the battle that's even discussed in the Prince. So he's repeating something he discussed also in the Prince. Thus, since the Church has not been powerful enough to be able to seize Italy, nor permitted another to seize it, it has been the cause that Italy had not been able to come under one head, but had been under many princes and lords, from whom so much disunion and so much weakness has arisen, that it has been led to be the prey, not only of barbarian powers, but of whomever assaults it. Now this is interesting. What Machiavelli says here about Italy, isn't it not also equally true about the Germans? Yes. In other words, the Church and Christendom and the Holy Roman Empire of the Emperor, although there was an imperial authority, it was not as unified as that of France or Spain. And because of that, there was disunion, there was division, there was playing, and the Church could take advantage of it. Right? That's the whole problem of what Luther will say about the indulgences, right? In other words, it was weak, and there was not. Therefore, so what he says about the Church taking advantage, in other words, this is, you can see. Those who study Luther should take a pick at Machiavelli. Machiavelli and Luther, in their critique of the Church, are very. Luther's critique of the Church is spiritual. Machiavelli's critique of the Roman Church is political. But these arguments are very similar. In fact, one could say Machiavelli's critique of Luther would be that he should have made himself prince. He should have been a Moses. He should have been a Moses and a Cyrus, and not, he was a more successful. He was a more successful than Savonarola. But his goal was, but he was successful religiously, not politically. Okay. And he did not make Germany a nation. Now maybe by the Bible and these things help normalize the German language, which the Bible is very important for the unification of German language, and then therefore the later unification of the German language, which led to ultimately the unification by a prince. Okay. So this is what's another aspect of here that we have to understand. Now he says what? And since the church has not been powerful, able to seize Italy, nor permitted others to seize it, it had been the cause that Italy has been not able to come under one head, but under the princes of many laws, from whom so much disunion and so much weakness has arisen, that it had been led to be prey not only of the barbarian powers, but of whoever assaults it. So in other words, it's weak. In other words, the church makes it weak and divides it. The division makes it weak and therefore makes it prey of not only barbarian powers, but but of anyone who assaults it. For this, we other Italians have an obligation to the church and not to others. In other words, they have an obligation to the church, but not to others. Whomever wished to see the truth more readily by certain experience would need to be of such power as to send the Roman court with all authority it has in Italy to inhabit the towns of the Swiss. So in other words, for this, we other Italians have an obligation to the church and not to others. Whoever wished to see the truth more readily by certain experience would need to be of such power as to send the Roman court with all the authority in it has in Italy to inhabit the towns of the Swiss. They are totally the only people who live according to the ancients in regards to both religion and military orders, and would see that in a little time that bad customs of that court would make them more disordered in that province than any other accident could have arisen there at any time. In other words, an example of this. Want to experiment? Take the Roman court, church, the Roman church, leadership, the Pope and the cardinals, and move it into the Swiss cities. Because why? What are Swiss cities? The Swiss cities are the only people who live according to the ancients as regard to both religion and military orders. And in a little time, the bad customs of that court would make more disorder in that province than any accident could have achieved. So how he ends this chapter saying that the corruption of the church. The church has disordered things. It has destroyed. It will destroy those disorders. Will disorder not only the civic orders but the military orders. In fact, that was one of the criticisms. The church and the prince. The church, who was responsible for making the Italians and the cities rely on mercenaries? The church, because the church relied on mercenaries, because they did not know about military affairs. They weren't people who. The church relied more and more on mercenaries, and as mercenaries became, everyone relied on mercenaries. That's the argument of the prince, and this is how they brought disorder into Italy in that sense, and this is what ruins Italy in that sense. Okay, well that's it. Any comments or questions, please put them below, and if I see them, I'll respond to them. If you've liked it, hit the like button. Hit the like button, please. It helps the algorithm. Like it, share it far and wide. Share it on shared media, whatever, share it around. If you have not subscribed, do subscribe. Check out the other videos in our thing. You can do that so without subscribing, but again, subscribing helps the algorithm. Encourage other people to come and subscribe to what we're doing here. If you didn't like it, you want to thumbs down it, of course you can thumbs down it, but please say why in the comments so people can benefit from it and learn. Another thing you can do is, if you want to follow me in social media, you can do so by checking the links below, social media. If you want to know more about me as a researcher and a scholar, check out the academic social media links below that. And if you want to help me to do what I do, you can do so there's the Patreon and Subscribe Star links below that, or by buying one of my books that are available. You can do so through your local bookstore, or have them order it, or order it through Barnes and Noble or Amazon or some online distributor, or you can go directly to the publishers. Okay, that's it. Have a good day. We'll turn next to chapter 13. Bye-bye.